All right, y'all. Put this on real quick. Get started. Y'all know whose this is? All right, y'all. We go ahead and get started here in the right now, actually. All right, y'all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
My young man, coming up blowing the shofar. All right, so he gonna get the little one, y'all. Little one, he gonna blow it 7 times. So Shabbat shalom to the viewing audience. Hey, Shabbat shalom, ma. You can just do it from right there. You ain't gotta come on. Shem. Hallelujah. All right, y'all, let's rise. Thanks, Jerusalem. Our Father, who art in heaven, set apart is thy name. Thy kingdom come. Let your will be done. On earth as it is in heaven. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Almighty Yahweh, we beseech you at this time, giving you all things, praises, honor, and glory. We ask at this time that you forgive us for the sins that we committed and omitted. We thank you for sending Yahweh Shah to die for the remission of sins. We thank you for leading us out of the house of bondage, out of Egypt with a strong hand. We thank you for giving us your Shabbat day to be a delight for us. We take not in our own pleasures, but we seek you on this day. We seek your face from the heavens above to the earth beneath. We call upon your name and extol it on high and exalt your name. We give you thanks, all praise, honor, and glory for sending your Ruach to us to be in the midst of us. And we ask that you continue to lead us and guide us into all truth. So with that, every man, woman, and child within the sound of my voice, within Israel now, or even online, we say, Hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah,
Hallelujah.
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 All right, cool. All right, so I want to kind of switch it up just a little bit today. Anybody got any quick testimonies, prayer requests y'all want to throw out at this time? Feel free. If not, then you don't have to. If anything happens to come across your mind during the course of the lesson or anything and stuff like that, we can definitely do it at the end as well. So if you ain't got nothing right now, we'll proceed and go forward. Oh yeah, Ray. Hey, squash along, sis. Yeah. Ray, when you get a chance.
Yeah, I'm on my way.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. All right, so how y'all feeling today? Y'all good? Cool, man. Always definitely good to check on everybody's well-being, everything to that nature, man. It's as we always reiterate, it'd be a long drawn out week, and it's just always good to be in the presence of the Most High, continually getting to this particular place of the week. Like I say, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But each and every time that we get here, we know that we've won that particular race for that particular week. But now we got to do what Mashiach says, which is endure to the end. So we know we got days upon days before us. We're going to have heavy days. We're going to have, high days, low days, and different things of that nature. But it's just time for us to continue to gird up and, be able to endure. So where we at right now? Let's go to Exodus chapter 20. And children, always be ready. I'm not gonna always call on y'all. I know, the other brothers up here may not always call on y'all, but y'all always got to be ready because you never know when that time gonna come for us to say, hey, children, it's your turn to read, or it's your turn to recite these particular commandments that we read each and every week. All right, so just always be ready in the back of your mind. Study them throughout the week. Look over them throughout the week, because what's the old African saying? Stay ready so you don't have to what? Get ready. So if you're doing it through the course of the week, somebody pick on you, you're gonna do it, and it's gonna be like looking at the back of your hand. It's gonna be like clockwork. All right, so where we at? Exodus or Shemot chapter 20, beginning at verse number 1. And Elohim spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, which I brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You should not have no other Elohim before me. You should not make unto you any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You should not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. You should not take the name of Yahweh your Elohim in vain, for Yahweh will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Shabbat day to keep it holy or set apart. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is the Shabbat of Yahweh Elohim. In it you should not do any work, you nor your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your cattle, nor the stranger that is within your gates. For 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Shabbat day and sanctified it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh thy Elohim giveth thee. You should not murder. You should not commit adultery. You should not steal. You should not bear false witness against your neighbor. You should not covet thy neighbor's house. You should not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Real quick, for anybody in the room, children, adults, when you read the part where it says you shall not steal, is that a universal law or is that a nationalistic law? Is that just within the nation or is that universal for us to be able to carry through all nations that we're at? Or does that just mean just strictly for your neighbor? Right. So y'all know it's people out there that say it just means don't steal from your neighbor. But you can go into so it's like if you, of course, we here in America, if you rob a bank, right? You really not stealing from your people. You're stealing from the people in which who own the bank, like the fake Jews and stuff. And so it's like this: what father, what parent would teach you household laws but not principles of society? Neither. So how much more the Most High, who's creator of us all? Why would He put you on a limb like you cannot steal unless you're in the if you're in the land of Israel? That means you can't steal because you're stealing from your neighbor, your people. But if you get scattered, then you can steal. And then they use stuff like this. This is what they go to. They be like, Moses sent us to the land of Canaan, and he told us to kill everybody and take their land. That's why we can go to other lands and take whatever that's not, you know what I mean, that don't belong to our neighbor because it belongs to somebody else. And so to me, it's just wickedness in plain sight. People be trying to twist these scriptures up and make them fit what they really just want to do. But yeah, man, you'll be surprised what you hear out there, man. It's crazy. So that's like this. That's even with like adultery. You got people that believe as long as they're not an Israelite, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so they be going all down the whole entire list. Like when it says don't bear false witness, it's talking about just strictly your neighbor. Like they try to make it Israelite dominant on top of who the Israelites are and who the Gentiles, like all that. Like the whole book is not just speaking strictly solely on Israel. Majority of it is, but it's still principles that lie. So that's why we come in these lands and you get what? Incarcerated. And they be thinking it's unjustifiable, but you know, it's crazy though. All right, so before we go to the next portion, current events. Y'all got anything y'all been witnessing? Anything y'all been seeing out there? Shabbat shalom, y'all. Anybody been checking anything out this week?
I saw those job numbers they were carrying on about the job numbers and you know how it's in the economy and people are going back to work as soon as you know they would expect. But I mean, I'm gonna say common sense, but you would believe that if you know all these people are losing jobs, all these businesses are closed, right, the jobs would be lost anyways. Right. So I would expect for a lot of other things being affected too here shortly.
Yeah, for sure, man. Did anybody I forgot who shared it. I think it was Benaiah. He shared a guy he shared a heathen. He was like, most of these countries that we deem as like poor countries, third world countries, he said it ain't the countries that's poor, it's the people in the countries that's poor. Y'all seen that?
I didn't see
You
it.
didn't see it?
I didn't see it, but
that would make sense.
About right, though.
Yeah, that would make sense. Like the people in the countries are, of course, the number one consumers, and to me, it's like with not knowing how to really manage, you know, what you do, your finances and stuff like that. You become one that has like a poor man's mentality. So it'd be stuff simple as this for me. It'd be like, and this may not be simplicity for everybody, but it be stuff simple like this for me. That you definitely pay yourself, you know what I mean, with anything you do first. Or you pay your bills and you definitely make sure you pay yourself. Like you invest in your own self, meaning like not buying J's and stuff like that. I'd say nothing wrong with it, but it's like put a little something to the side. And then you can maybe just pitch here and there on as far as like what you would like to consume on. I've been doing it for years. I've been what they call it, a 10-10-80 treatment. I'd be like $10 here, $10 here, $80 over here. Like, but when you really think about it, it's like who in this nation, who would be like the number one consumers, right? It would definitely be our people. We go to okay, so let's go to this curse real quick. And Deuteronomy 28. And so when we read these things, we read them all day long as cliche. Some probably the top notch verses out of all of the entire book. This is the only like particular chapter that every single Israelite, no matter if you're non-Messianic, Messianic, whatever, every single Israelite can agree to this chapter, right? I think I'm on somewhere around a 30 or something verse where it talk about lending. Maybe up a little bit. I think I'm gonna try to quote it a little bit. It says, they shall lend to you and you shall borrow from them or whatnot. Everybody know that verse, right?
Yes.
In other words, the system's been pre-set up. The only way for you two to get ahead, you would have to go to them. And
44.
Go ahead.
I guess the system has been set up, and you can look all around the world.
And then we're gonna read this verse after you get done making this point.
I mean, the whole banking system has been set up and geared to keep us oppressed. And I don't care what third world country that you go in. Once they have been there and set up their system, and once they leave in place people who are still going to abide by the system that they have put in place. I mean, you get a lot of these African countries as well as third world countries. They're very rich countries, and their leaders are filthy rich, but they don't invest the money back into the people, right? And you can see the same thing here. You know, Caucasians are very rich, but do they put the money back into with us? No, we got the worst schools. We're the last one to get hired. You know,
First fire.
Exactly, first fire. You know, so the system is set up all around the world to keep us oppressed. You know, it's called manifested destiny. You know, they perceive that they are supposed to rule the world, and that they would do whatever it is to keep us blind and oppressed. You know, until we start seeing the truth about, you know, where we are and who we're dealing with, we're gonna continue to go in this vicious circle.
I'm glad you said that. Manifest destination, right? So remember the verse we read in Psalms. Who was here to remember the verse we read in Psalms where it said, "The inward parts is that we shall continue forever." It says when they die, the ones that remain are pretty much rich. Like speaking about like everybody outside of our people. So when we die, we don't have majority of our people don't have living wills and different things of that nature in writing to say, if I die, this billion goes to my 6 children. If I die, you know what I mean? This, that, and the third. So they've been set up from the jump. These Rothschilds, these 13 you know, secret society, you know what I mean? Like they've been set up from the jump. They've been set up to like second and third generation. Bump 5 to 7 to 8 generation. They've been set up for like they duplicated. They generations is duplicated. Like and when you really think about it, like look at the stock market. Who really like consuming that thing? Our people just really start getting to it as of late, but they've been doing this for years. So where you say the first was again, on 44. Okay, 44. So let's start up. Let's read starting at 43. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to you, meaning a stranger. He shall lend to you, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. That's pretty self-explanatory in every which way. Who's the people? Who are majority of the people that's going to these lending agencies? And this is usually right when you go to these lending agencies, they be like, "All right, we'll give you. We'll see if you pre-approve for this. Once you approve, it'd be like, let's just hypothetically say 25 grand. But it'd be like, if you pre-approve for this. Once you approve, it'd be like, let's just hypothetically say 25 grand. But it'd be like, you got to pay 30 of it back. Like, what? You gave me 25 grand. Why do I got to pay 30 of it back?
Crazy interest.
Like, why am I paying an extra $5,000? You know what I mean? That's why I said I'm just using an example. But it's like, it shouldn't be a penny over. It shouldn't be a penny over. The scriptures say that we shouldn't commit usury against our neighbor. So how much more the heathen towards us? The heathen should be giving us stuff like they should be our great asset right now. Like, look, we're gonna do what I believe Deuteronomy 29, the very next chapter. It said, from the hewer of wood to the jar of water. They should be coming to our feet, but we not even in position for them to do that right now. So when we think about this stuff like consummation and being consumers and never really being able to get above high, this is the curse that's set up for our people in every which land that we're at. No matter where we go, we ain't owning too much of nothing. We own a little to nothing. Who own the hair salons? And who buying it up? Who own the gas stations? Who own the banks and the lending agencies? Who own like, you know what I mean? So we can go on and on and on about this stuff. The moment our people tried to do some stuff, what was that in Tulsa? Y'all already know what happened with that. So yeah, man, it's just to throw that out there, you know, a little sound bite on, you know, just the condition of our people as a whole. But anybody else got anything though they want to touch on? Current events, whatever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say something real quick though. Y'all know how they be putting subliminally like in movies who we are and all of that, right? I don't know if y'all have ever watched, and I haven't watched the series, but that TV show called Them.
I seen that shit. Did you share that?
I seen that today.
I had to
I
share
seen
it.
that.
Somebody shared the snippet of. Oh, you commented
I
on.
commented on
Yeah,
it.
that's
On this is that I follow on YouTube, the Night Israel in Hebrews, and he broke down. It's like a 30-minute clip called "Hidden in Plain Sight," 31 minutes, and he breaks down the scene from when the Gentile makes a deal with the enemy to when like, and he's coming to the sister, like, and she's like, you know, like she calling him out, like, I see you, devil, and he like, y'all had a covenant, a sacred bond, and y'all broke it. I mean, it's just so crazy how the boldness of the powers that be, how they're putting it in, like it's literally in plain sight, and you literally have to be in the spirit to be able to see, like, yo, this is they talking about us. So I never watched it, but that right there, that just put my wig back. Like, oh, so they just don't care who see it at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I advise anybody, and if y'all want the clip, like, I'll put it in the our group so everybody can see what Benaiah broke down. It's
he said this too. He
bro.
said curses gonna follow you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Pretty much no matter, you can't escape. He said they're gonna follow you without escape.
without escape.
So you gotta look at that. So it's like this. Man, how can I put this? It's like, I'll touch on it later. But yeah, they know without a shadow of a,
It's so strong. But to your point, yeah, it's a slap face for sure. Right?
So this is
it's a series. What's the day in the first season?
Yeah, first season, yeah. Called Them on it's on Amazon Prime.
The same maker that made the movie Us.
Peel, I think yeah, that's who it is.
So we got that same.
Yeah, it definitely got that feel. That's why I ain't watching. I was like, nah. It's good.
It's so deep,
Yeah.
like it will bring chills to you because it's our story for real, but it's on the spiritual level more than I've ever seen any other movie or any series.
I need to check it out. Check it out.
So then when I get to the episode that you're talking about, that's when it came evident to me that, oh,
And the child ended up being Hashatan. So I was kind of surprised by how they did that and the correlation, because when the child shook the hand was old. And I was like, why is the hand old, but it's a child's hand? So it was, yeah, it's deep. The whole thing is deep. So it was interesting to see that early.
Real quick. Okay. Yeah, that's deep, and I believe that as well. I believe a lot of people gonna miss it. Israel now. Yeah, that's deep, and I believe that as well. I believe a lot of people gonna miss it, and here's why. So the irony that I was reading through Mashiach writings or words, so to speak, and I got to when Shiach was just at that time telling them what he was bringing to the table as far as the physical and the spiritual. So he said this. He said, when your fathers ate manna in the wilderness, that's all he was thinking about was the physical realm. They wasn't thinking about the other side on the spiritual note. We filter everything within the law. The scripture says. So I've never read anything concerning Mother's Day being pagan or being something connected to a deity or worshiping another idol or any of that. When we do the research on it, I believe the lady that did, when we do the research on it, I believe the lady that did it, and this was before Father's Day, of course, came about, but the lady that did it just wanted to big up deepness to or doing stuff like that. So me personally, every day is Mother's Day for me. Like I honor my mother and father every single day according to the commandment. Not just pick one day out of the year. We're supposed to do that every day. Which I'm sure a lot of people, especially people that was brought up back in the day, they definitely have more respect than this generation for their parents, and stuff like that. But yeah, for people that celebrate Mother's Day, it's like birthdays. Like, can you find it's like Thanksgiving? I wouldn't celebrate Thanksgiving for one day. Your loved ones, we gonna celebrate this day, but slaughtering your love, you to hold a feast with us. So that's why I'm like, nah, it's not something. We got our feast day to keep. It's just something that's not expediently, that don't need to be done, but it's the lawful or unlawful, so to speak. So that's my take on Mother's Day.
I think you also have to be careful because a lot of people don't realize that Satan is good at what he does. He comes in very, very subtly too, and if you start with, say, well,
Like any other day that they could consider. Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, but the fact of the matter is it's a Americanized tradition. But this tradition can be found as breaking the law. All right, let's look at this that was kept by our ancestors on vacation from this point on. So what we do it, but do the heathens do it? Do they be like, hey, the Israelites keeping the Feast of Dedication today, let's keep it with them? Absolutely not. So we just play that same game with them. If you got a tradition with them, if you got a tradition, what? Like Doc said, Mom, Dad, let's get together on this day of the week, random, spontaneous, and go have a good time or whatever. So don't necessarily have to be on a day-to-day call, so to speak. But yeah, there is no law against it. We can see our ancestors doing, especially if they lawful. Yep. So real quick, I know a few people wanted me to touch up on it. So the reason why I said this, I'm sick and tired of Israelite Christianity. It's a few points, and we don't really care about no feelings and emotions because it's not what this walk is based on. So Israelite Christianity. I mean, before I go in on it, who wasn't aware that what I was talking about in the wrong? I mean, before I go in on it, who cool. So to be an Israelite is to be a seed of Yaakov, right? And when the Most High said, "Money is Yahweh's passed to a group, a religion, or none of that," right? So let's get that out of the way. But what people have done is they started off growing up in these religious groups, predominantly Christianity over here in America, and they found truth and they carried some of the things over with because they felt in their heart, Most High told somebody, taking the ball from. I'm only going with people that don't know how to strip it from me. It's not with you. This one reason why people separate. It don't be because they got bad blood with you. It's because you calling them out on things that they can't prove. Another language, we can read it. Paul said, we'll touch up on this lesson. Paul said, if you do it, you will sound barbaric. What is he saying? I don't know what he's saying. What else? Once I found out the real name of the Mashiach, I deaded it. Especially when I found out where the origin came from. You got brothers teaching this. It don't matter. I heard Yash, but that's Israelite Christianity. You just want to keep the name because you're scared to call on the true name because all your life you've been calling on JSUS, and it's once again it was working. People don't judge rightly and all that, right? So we say, hey, Most I said don't eat pork, don't eat swine, keep it silent. That's righteous. Don't debate with nothing. He said don't debate with people that got strife in their heart because it's not gonna get nowhere. Not to debate, he's saying not to just not debate, period. These things have to be edified for one that comes asking questions. So you gotta lay it down for how it is. Emotions and feelings in Christianity, truth in word and scripture and truth. Right? And of course, to be an Israelite when we do praise and worship, and stuff like that, it may look the same as Christianity, but I never really associated praise and worship with a sing and dance. I've only associated praise and worship with something you're reverencing. So we cannot turn on music in here and play the drums or whatever we're doing, stomping our feet, clapping our hands, and we can still praise the Most High by giving them a loud shout, hallelujah. That's praise. That's the praise part. Just acknowledging his name and who he is. Worship, we're here right now in worship. But in Christianity, they was taught that praise and worship was when them organs on you, like, maybe I shouldn't even fell down like that and cry. He's hurt like a mug. He said he went to go jump over a chair and almost tripped over the chair and bust his head. And everybody just acted like it was nothing. They looked at it like, man, he in the spirit. I'm like, he's not in the spirit. Talked to him, he ran out naked. He was in the spirit too. You know what I mean? He was in the spirit too. So yeah, just to clarify some things, man. And when the ox come back, front line and center, we're gonna really deal with it in the depths and stuff like that. But yeah, man, let's go to Exodus 13. Yeah. Yeah, and it's some things that people then put down, like, of course, in the Christian church, they accept homosexuality. Nobody wants, you can't judge, you can't do, right here, it's a way we do things, don't get me wrong. Like if a homosexual walked in the door, yeah, come in fellowship. We're going to help you fixate that. We're going to be like, you a homo, get gone. No, we're going to help you fixate that. We under grace, we're going to help you fixate. But that's the judgment that's needed. Hey, you clearly are saying who you are and what you want to change. Let's deal with the issue. first. Let's deal with the inner man first and then move forward. Not just accept it and let a person just keep doing it over and over. Like, so, all right, so what we got in this chapter? 22 verses. I can eat the first 11 up. Like the scriptures say, eat the scroll. We're gonna take the last 11. Okay. All right. So Shemot or Exodus 13 in verse 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, sanctify unto me all the firstborn. Whatsoever opened the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moshe said unto the people, remember this day in which ye came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yahweh brought out from this place, there shall no leaven be eaten. Verse 4, this day came ye out in the month Abib. And in the same, and it shall be when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of Canaan, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast or a feast to Yahweh. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee. Neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Yahweh did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto you upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that Yahweh, or that Yahweh's law be in your mouth. For with a strong hand as Yahweh brought you out of Egypt. Verse 10, you shall therefore keep his ordinance in his seasons from year to year. It shall be when Yahweh shall bring thee into the land of Canaan, or into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto you and to your fathers, and shall give it to you.
Verse 12, that you shall set apart to Yahweh all that open the womb, that is, every firstborn that comes from an animal which you have, the males shall be Yahweh's. But every firstborn of a donkey you shall redeem with the lamb, and if you will not redeem it, then you shall break its neck. And all the firstborn of a man among your sons you shall redeem. So it shall be, when your sons ask you in the time to come, saying, what is this? That you shall say to him, by strength of hand, Yahweh brought us out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And it shall come to pass, when Pharaoh was stubborn about letting us go, that Yahweh killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrificed to Yahweh all males. 17. Then it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go.
That was just coming across my mind as we was reading. So we'll go to that verse real quick. Like verse right down verse 10 or something. Said verse 2. Okay. Sanctify, Exodus 13 and 2. Same thing. It's pure. I need that one. And that shows dedication that he has for us. That shows our dedication to him and the trust in him. Like, we'll give him our best. Because firstborn, being the firstborn of nations, so to speak, and also the son, but also from a standpoint of what is principle and what is law. When he gave him a commandment to do what? Give me your best. If you can give me that which is of the first year, I know for one, it's not going to be lame, torn, just lazy. I don't want it. Spiritual. Remember the incident that happened, but go ahead. Yeah. That's all he was saying. That's just, it's like what I give unto you, you give it right back to me, vice versa. Like a even exchange, so to speak. Like there's nothing that we can offer the Most High but the things that He tells us. Like if you wanted it of the first year, what's so hard about that? But the priest was trying to back, you know what I mean? They was trying to like tricky. Yeah, like, nah, we gonna give them this. But it's like you dealing with the Almighty. You dealing with nobody in the street. Like
So day and by night. Come on. Yeah. And to keep you
that's a good Most High. Kept us cool in the day and warm in the night, all by leading us and guiding us out of this particular place. Let's just get into what we're gonna get into today. Try to not be long. We're gonna wait on the IUIC. Tell our brothers we gotta treat them the same. If they came and broke bread with us, we can't have the IUIC. Another brother named for Nathaniel, and then one of them had the son and the other one had the father. So they was like, people revamped the post and was like, they wicked. And they was like, it wasn't within the camp. Somebody that have a problem with them edited. How many people shared it and called them wicked? That's a false matter. The Most High saying, do not deal with. So when I see stuff like that, I'll be like, if it's true, if not, hey, I ain't sharing it. I'm not believing and looking into it. All right, so what else? Let's get Numbers 13. I want everybody to
Joseph, that is from the tribe of Mali, from the tribe of Asher, Sethur, son of Michael, from the tribe of Naphtali, Nabi, son of Voshai, let's say that. From the tribe of Gad, Juel, son of Makai, who had gone up with him, said, we are not able to go up again
day in number. All right, so what they saw giants, the son of Anak, that 33.
33.
All right, so watch this. So they said that we saw giants. When you go to this Hebrew word, it does say Nephilim, H5303. It said that we seen Nephilim, the sons of this. Who are the Nephilims? And if the Nephilims predated the sons of Anak, how can they be the sons of Anak? The sons or Anak should be the sons of the Nephilim. See how they switched it around? They said we saw Nephilim. Where do we read Nephilim at? Are giants somewhere else in our history? Let's go there real quick. Let's go to Genesis chapter 6. Right? So we know that Genesis chapter 6 comprised on the time that Noah was on the earth. And in here, they say they saw giants. But now, in that time, we're entering into the land of Canaan. A few hundred years later, we're entering into the land of Canaan, and they saying we saw giants. Now, if that's true, let's see what happened here during the flood story that everybody read and agree on. Let's read verse 4.
This is Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 1. Now it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Yahweh saw the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, all of whom they chose. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he is indeed flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Yahweh came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of.
If we know how Fun Factory used to be jumping and stuff, but it's no more. If somebody right now came to you and said, "Man, I went to Fun Factory last night and I had a good time," you're gonna look at them like, "What are you talking about?" But then for somebody that don't know, they're gonna be like, "What's this Fun Factory stuff? I want to go too." And never went. They're gonna take it as truth.
Right.
It's no different from what happened there when they was spying the land of Canaan. All right, Leviticus 19 and 16. Let's deal with something else.
Leviticus chapter 19, starting at verse 16. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am Yahweh.
So he said, don't go up to be a talebearer, meaning don't go up and down lying, carrying lies and false tales and whispering, saying something about what somebody doing, what somebody ain't doing, and you never address that individual to see if it was true in the meantime. Or you never just dealt with the scriptures I said in the law, meddle not with false matters and just left it alone. If somebody did, like, he clearly didn't commit adultery when he was caught in the act by multiple people. And you're like, nah, this is my boy though. He didn't do it. Don't no. The Most High has no respect of persons, right? So we don't do these things. We don't tale bear. We don't carry false tales. We just leave matters where they at. Let's go to Proverbs 26. We're gonna read verse 20 down to 27. So the power of your tongue. How can you tame this small little vessel in your body? How can you make this thing be how can you put it under subjection and say, you know what, instead of carrying these things over and over and over, I'm seeing thousands of Israelites do it. How can you put yours under subjection to not do it? Right? How can you form a habit of not lying on one another and telling false matters to the world where they deem it to be true, but you know it to be a lie? Go ahead, verse 20 through 27 or 26.
Proverbs chapter 26, starting in verse 20. Where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. As coals are to burning coals, and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife.
You see that? That's pretty self-explanatory. Where no wood is, there the fire goes out. If we don't have any wood to put over what's already burning, eventually that fire is gonna go out. So why do we keep adding and adding to stuff? It's almost like we just want to belittle people and see people down all the time. So we just keep things going. It wood to the fire. Hey, he said this. I don't care what he said. I really don't care. And if he did say it, so be it. If he didn't say it, so be it. If he didn't say it, then that's a problem with you for keep adding fuel to the fire. And then it says, what in verse 21? As coals are to the burning coals and wood to the fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. All right, self-explanatory. Go ahead.
Verse 22. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, as they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Proverbs chapter 6, starting in verse 16. These six things doeth Yahweh hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him.
Wait, the man that was a liar and a deceit, a talebearer, it said that he's wrong here. You can't take the correction for what it is. Like, hey, the scripture you read, there go the precept to it. I don't see it the way you see it. You're just so prideful and you arrogant that you can't even take the correction right there, or even say, I'm gonna go and look at it. Just give me some time. You know, maybe I was a proud look. Different way. Go ahead.
A proud look, a lying tongue,
right?
And hands that shed innocent blood.
Because at Golden Skates, we just fought with our friends just because we was there and it was Avondale versus Bond Hill. And you just swung on somebody because they look soft. Hey, I bet you won't sock on him. Ooh, bet it up. And you just hit him and you shed innocent blood. He did nothing to you. How about going to go get that dude that touched your sister? How about going to go get this person that did this and checking them? But you want to punch on people and shoot people and stuff like that. Dude, these dudes nowadays don't really even know how to shoot. They lie to you, or when you find a person lying, what it make you be honest? What it make you want to do in heart? It make you want to go do something. And this you want to do in heart. It make you want to go do something. And this is what it means by don't sow seeds of discord, because I but I didn't heard people get killed over this stuff. They said what? And now somebody's dead based off a lie that was told or a discord that was carried out. How about you just stop talking and you don't? And if you do get killed based on what's going on, it didn't come from you. So exactly, a false witness that speaks lies. This goes for pastors, for Israelite teachers. False witness that speaks lies on that spectrum, and also just carrying tales. And what? He that soweth seed, he that soweth discord among brethren. So why would we want to keep adding fuel to the fire? Two brothers is beefing. The first thing I'm gonna say is, did y'all talk? Oh, y'all ain't talk? I don't want to hear it. Oh, matter of fact, let me get you on the phone right now. If you really sincere about what you're telling me, let's get him with Jack. If you're not that sincere, you just want to be a talker that whisper and say something about somebody and so on and so forth, right? What we at right now?
Verse 20.
Okay, go ahead.
Verse 20. My son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Bind them continually upon thine heart and tie them about thy neck.
Right, because this is the solution for everything that we just read here. Instead of doing these 7 things that he found abominable, he said just keep the commandments. He said bind it on your neck and tie it on your heart or whatnot. Meaning if you got a chain on, you know that chain is there all day long. You may not pay attention to it, but the moment you go to reach for it and look, it's there. So the commandment should be just like that. Not these other things that don't matter. Let's get a little bit more. Let's go to Proverbs 15. So we definitely don't want to be out here lying on people, just lying on the scriptures, lying on the Most High. None of this, right? Proverbs 15, verse 1 and 2. This is how we got to handle these situations, and we got to do it diligently to the T. Go ahead, I can never be great.
Proverbs 15, starting at verse 1. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness.
Exactly. So we see this on what's that show called? Bad Girls Club? Nah, not Bad Girls Club. Housewives. Any of them little reality TV shows. When they had a reunion, that's all they do is argue. Be like, so okay, so who gonna just shut up and be like, whatever? Oh yeah, this scripted for sure. But guess what they doing? They're painting an image in a person's mind or eyesight that's watching it to think this is how I handle situations. You say something about me, I'm gonna say something about you. They acting like kindergartens. You know what I mean? When we in a situation and it's like, all right, cool. Let you talk, so rocks off, and then I'll talk. Let you talk, and then I'll talk. And while we're talking, I'm not saying nothing like, I hate you and stuff like that. I'm not speaking curses over your life. I'm speaking curses over you or anybody else. Like, I'm just going to listen, and then we're just going to deal with it that way, cordially. But we see things different happening in Israel. Why? Because we're not doing enough reading into these scriptures to examine our spirit man. When you read the scriptures, it should be an automatic mirror that goes up. Like, keep the commandments first. I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at me through it. Do this, don't do this. I'm looking at it, and it's reverting back to me. All right? An ultra mirror. Proverbs 17, verse 14. We're going to just kind of skip through now. All these is tying in with tail bearing and all that, right? It's going to keep us from these false matters if we make it applicable. Verse 14 when you get there, right?
All right. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 14 reads, the beginning of strife is as when one letteth out water. Therefore, leave off contention before it meddle with.
Right.
Be meddled with.
Right. Just one of my favorite scriptures. We all, that's why I said it's going to be relatable too. We all know the term that we use in the world. We be like, man, such and such cannot hold water. As soon as you tell them something, they just run off and just flood it before everybody. You can't hold water. And it said, well, here at the beginning of strife, meaning before strife even was thought about happening, it said, it is as when one letteth out water. Therefore, leave off contentions before it be meddled with. You got to look at every situation, because for it's one thing to be a leader in Israel, but it's another thing to know if you even are required to deal with every situation, right? Somebody may not call Yash, right? Or even have to call, like Yash may not have to deal with every situation. It may just be y'all two that can just deal with it. Like the scriptures say, come to your neighbor first. So on and so forth. You may not have to call anybody before it even gets to a certain point, and you can just squash it right then and there. Therefore, he don't have to meddle with it, and nobody else got to deal with it. Especially people that don't got good intentions that's dealing with information. Gotta be careful who we talking to. Jump down to verse 27. We're going to read 27 to 28.
Verse 27, he that hath knowledge spareth his words, and the man of understanding is of an excellent spirit. Even a fool, when he holdeth his peace, is counted wise.
Wow. Even a fool, he don't say nothing, he counted wise. So how much more the person that has knowledge, that know the scriptures, like, you know what, sovereign eternal away wrath, not going to say nothing. Even a person that's looking to punch you and looking to fight and stuff like that, when he be quiet, he counted wise. Go ahead.
And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding.
Right, because if you just be quiet, it's like, okay, he know what type time it is. He know what it's all about. He got good understanding, right? Let's get a little bit more. Go to Proverbs 18. We gotta walk through these scriptures because it's real big and it happens so easily in Israel. Well, like I said, people get online and start just spreading all false reports. People get online and just start talking and saying stuff. You don't know who watching your posts, stuff like that. Proverbs 18, verse 17 through 21.
All right, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 17 reads, he that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him.
Wait a minute. We got to read that over. He that is first in his cause seemeth just. Don't that happen all the time? Before an issue get blew up. If a person come with their occasion first, like, hey, let me tell you what such and such did to me. And the way that they dice it up and dress it up, they seem just to the person that's listening. But it said the neighbor searches them out. What that mean? All right, if you're saying that this is true, let's get them online then. Right. I'm not even going to talk to them and ask them about what you said. Let's just get them online so we can make the connection. Anything outside of that is discord. Because if I listen to you and I go back to them, they're gonna be like, they lying. You go back to them, they're gonna be like, nah, they lying. Just get them both and listen to the whole occasion. Simple. It'll stop everything. Keep reading.
Verse 18, the lot causeth contentions to cease, and parties between the mighty. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. A man's belly shall be satisfied with the fruits of his mouth. With the increase of his lips shall he be filled. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Right. They that love death shall eat the fruit thereof. They that love life shall eat the fruit thereof. It's two sides to this spectrum. But death and life is in the power of it. Meaning you got the ability to cause somebody to live or cause somebody to die. I've been in situations where a person asked me about something, and I'm like, nah, I don't think that's him. Like, I'm trying to spare the situation by not feeding into it, by not looking at it, like trying to give much into what they're saying. It's like, nah, I don't think that. I'm trying to calm this person down from even thinking about doing something. Nah, man, just don't do this, da, da, da. So, yeah, death and life in the power of the tongue. But look what it said in verse 19. I want to pay close attention to that. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle. Meaning, how can you expect to win your brother if you can't just walk into a city that got gates up, that got people guarding the gates with ammunition and all? If you can't get into the city to get to the king or who you really want, and it's saying that a brother offended is harder than that, then man, we got work to do in this. We got to stop getting to the point where we can no longer reach out to one another and deal with one another on the level that we dealt with one another before. Like, we have this close-knit relationship, and the fact that some discord was shown, now the relationship is tarnished. And when you try to go back and build up on it, they don't want no part of it. Just think of any situation y'all been in, right? On either side of the spectrum. So, few more. Proverbs 25. A brother offended is harder to be won than a city. So you're trying to break through their inner man and get them to gain your trust back, and it's like they don't want nothing to deal with you. It's hard. Let's read verse 8 through 10 when we get there.
This is Proverbs 25, starting at verse 8. Do not go hastily to court, for what will you do in the end when your neighbor has put you to shame?
Right. Say, do not go hastily to strive or hear a court, let thou not know what to do in the end. My bad. In the end thereof, when thy neighbor has put thee to shame. So it's like this. If we beat on a dead horse, but it's just come back full circle, right? If you are so quick to say what somebody did to you, but never mention what you did to them to begin with, and neighbor searches you out, you won't know in the end what to do when you're put to shame. Like, hold on, you the reason why we even got to this point. Now you put to shame, and now there's no solution in your eyes, right? Now you don't know what to do. It's a prime example of when Mashiach say, don't try to take the plank out of their eyes. First, take the beam or the mote out of your own eye. What does this do? This displays this. If I take the plank out of my eye, meaning like just be the bigger man or the bigger woman, then guess what? Even if I wasn't the cause of this situation, going abrupt or stuff like that, sparking up, it's going to make them digress and say, yeah, man, you know what? I was wrong. How many times we seen that? So that's what Mashiach was trying to say. Take the mote out of your eye, then you can take the plank out of theirs. But eventually, if they are humble enough, they'll be like, and I was wrong too. Keep reading though.
Verse 9. Debate your case with your neighbor, and do not disclose the secret to another.
Right. Debate your cause with your neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to another. Meaning, let's talk to each other first before we start saying what happened betwixt us to other people. Let's talk to each other first. Verse 10, lest he that hears it put thee to shame, and thine infamy turn not away. So if he hear that you then went to somebody else before you came to me, then I'll put you to shame because I got the recording. I got the proof. You don't. You just talking, right? James chapter 1. It's just some great scripture in the book of Proverbs, man, like the book of wisdom. I love them books because it really shows us outside of the actual law how to make the connection between what we read in the law and how to be wise about every situation. Let's read 19 and 20.
This is James chapter 1, starting at verse 19. So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of a man does not produce the righteousness of Yahweh.
Right, because if we swift to hear, slow to speak, it goes back to the principle being what we read, a soft answer turneth away wrath. So if we just swift to hear things and being slow to speak, this can cover a multitude of things from happening, right? All right, so let's get these scriptures in Sirach, then we're going to open it up, all right? So if anybody not familiar with the book of Sirach, these are just consist on 14 books or whatnot if you're not familiar. And some of the books that was taken out by the Protestant church in the 1800s. But we know and believe that these are part of our scriptures, meaning they're part of the 66 that we read here. They're part of other scriptures such as Jubilees, Jasher. We just put them all in conjunction with one another. And we don't let no heathen, no European, we don't let no heathen, no European, no Gentile tell us that these books no longer mean nothing or these books were not a part of our scriptures. We're about to read some stuff that we just read in Proverbs, but it's about to be kind of like what a lot of people say on steroids, right? Ecclesiasticus, also known as Sirach, chapter 5, verse 9 through 15. Pay close attention to this stuff and make it applicable in your daily life when you're on social media, when you at work, when you at home, when you just in different gatherings and stuff like that. Make these things applicable in your heart first. Right?
Starting at verse 5.
Verse 9. Verse 9 all the way down to
15.
Yep. My bad. Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 5, verse 9 through 15.
This is Ecclesiasticus, starting at chapter 5, starting at verse 9. Well, now, not with every wind, and go not into every way, for so doth the sinner that hath a double tongue. Be steadfast in thy understanding, and let thy word be the same. Be swift to hear, and let thy life be sincere, and with patience give answer. If thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. If not, lay thy hand upon thy mouth. Honor and shame is in talk, and the tongue of a man is his fall. Be not called a whisperer, and lie not in wait with thy tongue. For a foul shame is upon the thief, and evil condemnation upon the double tongue. Verse 15, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small.
Right, so let's just read through these, but we see that it's pretty self-explanatory, saying some of the same stuff. So it says in verse 9, when no, not with every wind. So don't be going with every wind of word, every wind of doctrine. It comes a time where you got to sit down and be complacent about every matter, whether it's us saying when the Sabbath begins and ends, whether it's you hearing a matter. It takes time for you to sit down and not just go get so blown all over the place, to and fro, left and right. It says, and go not into every way, meaning don't be to the point where because you got respect to somebody, you just taking for what they say to be right, right? And of course, it's talking about like religion and stuff like that as well. But we just dealing with these matters, right? These false matters that we gotta cease. For so does the sinner that has a double tongue. You got people that'll speak righteous on the Shabbat, and then when Sunday comes, they right back to doing this and lying and talking like this, right? So if the sinner is doing this, that got a double tongue, then what does that say about you that call yourself to be set apart and grounded in truth? You got to be one-sided of the spectrum, right? Be steadfast in thy understanding, right? Go back to keeping these laws. Be steadfast in this stuff and let thy word be for the same, right? So if you're going to teach the commandments and stuff like that, you got to let your word line right up with it. Be swift to hear. Same thing we just read in on the book of James. Let thy life be sincere, and with patience give answer. So an issue may go down, let's say January 1st, but you may have to meditate on certain things and may not get to the situation until March. Now, every situation is different. If it's a life and death situation, got to be taken care of right then and there. But if it's something small, it's like, hey, just give me some time to think about it. Then here come March. A couple months later, all right, let's deal with it. I've read enough on the situation. I've read what to give. It's only up to y'all to take heed until, what I was patient about and what I was meditating on. And it says, verse 12, if thou hast understanding, answer thy neighbor. So if you got the answer, answer. If not, then what does it say? If not, lay thy hands upon thy mouth. So don't just get into your feelings. This is why I said Israelite Christianity, going back to that. People be so much deep into their feelings, they'll remove the book and just start telling you what all they think. But we want to hear what the word says. And sometimes it just takes time to just read upon it and then come back with the answer. Or if you just got it embedded in your heart after so long, like, I done dealt with the situation many times. Boom, 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 X, Y, and Z. But if you ain't got the answer, put your hand over your mouth. Because one of the things that the Most High hate is what? A proud look. So you got to be humble and just say when you don't have the answer on something. It says honor and shame is in talk. So honor and shame is in talk. And the tongue of man is his fault. This is cause himself, the man that just talks abruptly about certain stuff, cause him to die, cause other people to die. It says, be not called a whisperer. You don't want nobody to be saying that you out here just gossiping about this and gossiping about that. And lie not in wait with your tongue. So don't be sitting waiting on the issue to come up and just go and run and deal with it. For a foul shame is upon the thief. So if we know what's going to happen to a thief, then what's going to happen to a person that's just lying? What's going to happen to, we know what's going to happen to a thief. Scriptures say what about a thief? If you steal an ox, you got to pay how many back? A couple. We know what's about to happen to a thief. It says, what was that, verse 14? I mean, my bad.
14.
Yeah, 14. So be not called a whisperer, and lie not in wait with thy tongue, for foul and shame is upon a thief, and an evil condemnation upon the double tongue. Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. So always don't be like the Most High is about just weights and balances. Don't get a great matter like we got to do this, right? But then when a small matter comes, it's like, just don't worry about it. No, don't be ignorant of how to deal with any of this stuff. You got to deal with them on even playing fields. A few more. This is the last one though. Ecclesiastes 28 and verse 11 through 19. And y'all know we usually don't go this long, but I don't know. I felt the need to have to bring this stuff out because we see this stuff happening all day long, and we can get wrapped up in it quick. So Sirach 28, verse 11 through 19, and we'll just close out on that.
This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 28, starting at verse 11. And hasty contention kindleth the fire, and a hasty fighting sheddeth blood. If thou blow the spark, it shall burn. If thou spit upon it, it shall be quenched. And both these come out of thy mouth. Curse the whisperer and double tongue.
Wait a minute. He said, if you blow the spark, what did he say? It shall burn. If you spit on it, it shall quench. It shall be quenched. He said, and both of these come out of your mouth. So you got the ability to start something or end something only with your mouth alone. That's crazy, right? Go ahead.
Verse 13. Curse the whisperer and double tongue, for such have destroyed many that were at peace.
We was at peace with a situation, and this person then came and whispered about it and brought it back into fruition, or just brought it to life when it was dead. Go ahead.
14. A backbiting tongue hath disquieted many.
Because if a person talk about you, you want to fight. When I was quiet and I heard you talking about me, now I got to call you up and set it up. We got to throw hands. We got to catch a fade, like they say, right? Go ahead.
And driven them from nation to nation. Strong cities hath it pulled down, and overthrown the houses of great men. A backbiting tongue hath cast out virtuous women, and deprived them of their labors. 16. Whoso hearkeneth unto it shall never find rest, and never dwell quietly. The stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh, but the stroke of the tongue breaketh the bones. Many have fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue.
Hey, man, this is deep,
Bars,
man.
bro.
Listen, if we go up, he said, man, listen. He said, verse 6 or 17, the stroke of the whip maketh marks in the flesh. So you can get beat and stuff like that, right? I always said this. Physical wounds or spiritual wounds are harder to heal than physical wounds, right? Because if you say something to somebody, they carry it for the rest of their life. If something was done for you, be like, this little thing here, I got to cut at work. But you barely even pay attention to certain marks, right? But if somebody said, like, for example, a parent beating a kid versus telling them, I don't love you no more, which one is worse? You getting beat that you can overcome versus them saying, I don't even love you no more, or you caught wind of it and you heard your parents say, I don't love none of my kids. That's going to strike harder than when they whooped you, right? And then verse 18, it says, many has fallen by the edge of the sword, but not so many as have fallen by the tongue. Because guess what? The edge of the sword just came by way of war, right? But the tongue caused a person to hit you with the sword too. So how many people got killed just by the edge of the sword in war, in battle, versus people that been slain in the streets just because of what a person said? Man, they put out a statistic, more people died in the hoods than they died in combat. Why? Chicago alone. Why? This the real battlefield. This real Iraq, like they call Chicago, Chirac. So more people than died from the tongue than people dying by the edge of the sword. Go ahead.
19. Well is he that is defended from it, and hath not passed through the venom thereof, who hath not drawn the yoke thereof, nor hath been bound in her bands.
So well is he that don't deal with this, that don't speak like them, that never even he's so to himself, she's so to herself that nobody ever even thought to say stuff about her because they like she ain't gonna budge anyway. He ain't gonna budge anyway. So why even they want to see people fight. Like Satan want to see people go at it. So if this ock right here has been calm, cool, and collected his whole life, there is nothing we can say to him saying, hey, such and such said, he's not gonna budge. All right, cool. So blessed is he that don't pass through the venom of it. He never passed through the venom of it. And he never caused anybody to pass through the venom of it. So now Satan does what? Go to and fro seeking who he may devour. Now he look at a person like me and not and say, oh, I know what push this button and I know what push this button. I'm gonna send somebody else that like to keep the fire going and say something to him about him. And he gonna believe it because it's like, well, they are tight. They do talk all the time. He can't be lying. And instead of him coming to me, now it's a war. Now somebody died. So yeah, just wanted to bring them scriptures out, y'all, man. The power of our tongue. It consists more of what we say. It also comprises on how we think and what we do. Just as those men did when they were entering into the land of Canaan, they caused the whole congregation to lie and believe a lie. Except two people, a few people was like, nah, we ain't see that. They lying. And the Most High did what? Slayed them for lying. Right? And so we just got to be mindful of that stuff, man, continually. So yeah, with that I yield. I open it up to y'all if y'all got anything y'all want to touch on. We're gonna get you a mic. E.
Shalom, everybody. You know, that's a very powerful scripture. And when you said it, it made me think about a situation. I'm not going to get into it, but when we think about young girls and guys and the way they talk to each other and the things that they say to each other, not understanding the least about that, but you can't tell them that. And it causes a lot of friction. And that social media tone, let's not even go there. Because people feel free to express themselves because it's like hiding behind a veil. You know, nobody's gonna come looking for you physically, they think. But a lot of people have been destroyed because of something somebody said about them on social media or something somebody, posted, and they got so offended. You know, that anger, it don't take much, especially these days with people being stressed out, going through the pandemic, fear, all these things being heightened in the social media and on regular media. And sometimes all it takes is a word. All it takes is a word or accusation or just saying something cool. But like, I was saying, a soft answer turn way down. A soft answer is just as equivalent as to don't say nothing. If you know in your heart of heart that it's not true about you, and it don't have nothing to do with your salvation, I find that it's easier to walk away. Because the ignorant will nourish the ignorant, just like the righteous should uphold righteous.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Anybody else?
Well, I know at a very young age, there's one thing that my dad taught me and told me at a very young age, and I still kind of hold to it to this point. He said that there's three sides to every story. It's mine, it's his, and then it's the truth. So we need to rely on using some discernment, when we get in these situations. You got to believe somebody's lying. So one of these two is lying. So you have to fall back on your experience. Well, who's ever lied to me before? Well, this guy ain't never lied to me. But this guy, you got to use discernment. But remember, it's three sides, not two. Most of the time, both of them are going to be lying.
And also, And also factor this in too, because every situation may happen different with different people. Um, what you said just sparked something that a person can be truthful to you all they want, but they have to continue to prove themselves in every situation. So it's like this. Some people can look at it like, well, I know this brother. I don't really know you, but I know this brother. I'm going to just take his side. I'm going to hear y'all out, but I think he really telling the truth because he ain't never really lied to me. Every situation is different. You got to deal with every situation on an even playing field. Like, all right, cool. What happened? You said that he did this to you. He did that to you. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah, I think we definitely got to make sure we examine them situations and not have respect of persons, all day long. But anybody else, though? Go ahead, sis. Go.
I wanted to know about some of the, and I think we went over a few of the things that are the results or the outcomes of being a talebearer or a liar. But I just wanted to know some of the, what are the punishments for being a liar, or where will that land you? If you continuously lie. Sometimes people lie, but they may maybe not be a constant liar, like where they lie all the time, or some people, they pick up a habit and they continuously kind of find themselves doing that thing. What is the result or the end result of that? Because it's really serious. Like, it's one of the things that, people, when they think about righteousness and they think about the Ten Commandments and all this stuff about what we're supposed to do, when you talk about killing someone, murderers, stuff like that, I think everybody knows, like, it feels like just punishment of what would be the outcome of those things, how the Most High will punish those people. But I don't see a lot of people really pay a lot of attention to things like lying. And lying, that is, it happens more often. Like all the verses you just read, as far as bridling the tongue, how powerful you have to be, and how in control of yourself that you have to be able to do that in all circumstances. So I just wanted to know basically some of the outcomes and where would that land you. If you continue that type of behavior, you basically become a liar.
So I know in ancient times, it's like it could have been in the end result of what the Most High showed us when in the Book of Numbers, when that was a false tale or tale bearing type of situation, people died, the death. That was that punishment at that time. Now that we got to look at it in these times too. We ain't got the judges, so we go to scriptures like this. Punishment or judgment is not executed expediently. It's set in the hearts of men to do wicked, and then it say that the wage then is death. So it can be immediate death, just over accumulation of lying and doing all these things, or it can be what we read in Revelation when it says, "But all fornicators, adulterers, liars will have their part in the lake of fire." So it's like we have to be able to reverse that somehow, by owning up to I'm a liar, I'm lying on my brother and stuff like that. We got to get back to what he said to do first, substantiate keeping the laws, and understand that any issue that comes about, I either can't deal with it if it's gonna cause me to lie and go back to my lying ways, or I gotta just be straightforward and give the scriptures how it was given to me and cause them to accept it or reject it. Because I think a lot of times it's like this. People be afraid of the feedback, so they then say, I'll just tell a lie to kind of butter them up. But it's like, are you really doing yourself a service or disservice? Just tell them the truth and don't worry about how they feel about it to keep yourself from lying. And then to not feel so right in the eyes of the world, just don't go on, social media and lie, period. Just keep it where it is, keep it at bay, because you're going to cause yourself to accumulate them lies up. And then you're going to be a worker of iniquity because it's going to be a habit. You're going to become reprobate with it, thinking that you're telling the truth when you're really lying. And it's like you can have your place in a lake of fire. If it's not immediate death. You know what I mean? So
You don't have to keep these individuals in the camp either. If you find out that they're liars, and that's all they're doing is causing strife, you can have them annex.
say that again on the mic for
If you come across an individual that's in the camp and he's always constantly lying and starting strife, you don't have to keep him in there. They can be annexed. You know, you can put them out. Say, look, you know, you ain't here for the right thing, and all you're doing is causing a lot of mischief and causing problems. And you know, you'd be better off going somewhere else. So you don't have to contend with none of that. You know, I don't have to contend with God to keep lying to me. You lying to me all the time. Why I want to hang around you? Why I want you around me? You know, because it could come to a point to where you didn't lie to somebody else, and I'm with you, and they coming after you, and I mess around, get shot. You know, I don't need this in my life. You know, so when you build this to you about the individual, and it's still constantly doing it, you know, we have an obligation to the rest of us to, hey, look, you need to go find somewhere else to go. You know, I'm gonna ask you politely, you know, from man to man, you know, but we don't need this in this thing.
Anybody else though? Comments, anything? That's all my.
You know, like what Sis was talking about. And when you consider some of the constantly lies, you also want to consider who the father of lies. And if Hasatan is the father of lies, and that's what you're going to engage in, then now you're in your life, you have to choose whose child you're going to be. You know, you're going to follow after Hasatan, or you're going to follow after the Messiah. Because bad company corrupts good character, like Brother was just saying. And if that's going to be the outcome, let's communicate to everybody. I think individually, if you've identified someone that you associate with to be a teller of tales on the constant, then you need to separate yourself from them. Because, like I said, bad company corrupts good character. And so we do have to seek out. And if that person won't come to repentance and change their ways, it looks like that's something that the Most High gonna have to deal with. I mean, it's a thin line between joking all the time and lying all the time. Because I got a little thing that I say, the people closest to me, y'all know I say it. If you don't want my truth, do not ask my opinion. Because I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to tell you the facts as I see it or hear it. And if something you're saying or doing is contrary to where I'm trying to go in life, then you're going to find that long-handled spoon being handed to you. Because I can't allow you to hinder my salvation. It says for us to seek out our salvation with fear and trembling. So if I'm seeking out my salvation with fear and trembling, then if I can't change the people around me, then I got to change the people around me.
I agree, and I think everybody should always try to build themselves up on integrity. You know what I mean? You know a lot about a person if it's something small as I'll be here at this time, but then they show up, you know, like it's like I gave you a job to do, and you the one that told me you was gonna be here at 1 o'clock. You showed up at 2, and you never called and said why you showed up late. But this is like a normal habit for you. And then think about this too. So the reason why I even brought this out, right, is because of how different groups operate. They don't be questioning nothing. Like I put up on our page, I said, how do you know what you believe is the absolute truth if you never saw both sides? So that's a form of lying because somebody told you something simple as when the Sabbath began, when it ended, you just took it and ran with it and never researched it. So now the person that told you, he's a liar, and you without research, you lie. Right? So that's where the inspiration of this even came from, like the power of the tongue. We got to be careful how we doing stuff because if you do it, you're going to speak it. You know what I mean? When you speak it, people are going to listen and they're going to duplicate it. So that's why we even say fact check everything like the Berean Jews did. We bring out a lesson, go fact check it. Because with good intentions, people do bring stuff out, but they still can be considered liars. And when the Most High looks upon it and you get corrected, now he's judging the intent of your heart, whether you want to correct it or continue with the lie. You know what I mean? It'd be stuff like, we don't fast on the Day of Atonement. Last thing I'm going to say on it. We don't fast on the Day of Atonement because there is no law. And people still go on with the lie because of how they were taught first. But they can't read where it says to fast on the Day of Atonement. But therefore, you stand proud with a proud look, not humble enough to say, I can't read it, so I shouldn't teach it. But they do, I can't read it, so I should teach it. You'd be like, what? Little small stuff like that, man. Like, so that can cause the people to err and stuff like that. But we always want to be circumspect on both sides of the spectrum. But anybody else, though? If not, we'll take a quick break and remission. All right, cool. So, yeah, y'all, we can get up and stretch like we do. Take a little quick intermission, man. But definitely just wanted everybody to take heed on that, though. Yeah, I gotta holler. Easy. I'm about to No, we don't go that long, man.
Hey, it was necessary, bro.
Yeah, I'm like, this one of the
That was a good lesson.
Yeah.
Good lesson. I needed to hear that. I had something go on during the week.
Yeah.
I needed to hear that.
Hey,
That was right on.
them joints up in that apartment, though?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no was hitting, man. That's why, one eye Yosef, you know Yosef. He was saying, he'd be like, Sirach like Proverbs on steroids.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I can see that.
Right.
When you
Some
go
of
in
them,
there,
like, you'll read it, but then when you don't read it consistently or don't chew on it, and you hear it again, it's like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? So, Yeah, heavy, bro. Heavy.
Yeah, I watched that thing with Benaiah. I watched that this morning.
Did you?
Yeah, I
What's
watched
the
it
thing
this
when you
morning.
was watching?
Man, I was blown away.
Yeah.
But it's always Hollywood, they've always put it in there.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that, like you don't have that spirit, you ain't gonna catch it.
I ain't turned on, you gonna miss it. You gonna miss it. But
Because
that's
that us was like that.
Yeah. That's us was. I mean, Get Out was to a degree, but it isn't like it turned up on us. Yeah, it turned up on that. But that's them, bro. I'm like, bro. You see that them?
I was talking last night.
Bro. We were talking about earlier before you pulled up that one of the brothers of Benaiah Israel on YouTube. He did a 31-minute breakdown of like certain scenes and episodes. So, matter of fact, let me see too, bro. Oh my God.
He be having his whole
bro,
series,
yeah.
anything that he does.
I can't wait till he
real
got
good.
the one with 7 hours worth of like just basically proving like you the people. 7 hours of heat. Like, yeah.
Because I started looking into my DNA after I saw the hidden Hebrews, and then it kind of tied in because some of my descendants were in Spain. And then when he went through the whole Spain thing, I was like, it just tied everything together.
Ooh, yeah, man. That thing. Yeah, but I'm like, it's like I kind of want to do a DNA thing, but then it's like I don't even feel like I need it. Bro. I'm like, Deuteronomy 28 did it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it did it for me. You know what I mean? What's still going on? Like, yeah, it did it for me. But I feel you won't doing it though. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you just want to know. You know what I mean? So I feel you on that, bro. I feel you. Like his well of knowledge is so deep, yeah, it's so vast, man. Like
He's very good. There's another one that I watch. Is Thoughts, Camera, Action.
yeah, ferocious.
Yeah.
Ferocious. When I started watching him, that's when I started getting knowledge on like the so-called Jamaicans and everything that's happening across the water. So I'm like, oh, bro, like I watched this one on Australia. Aborigines down there, how they being ostracized and stuff.
Yeah. It's horrible, man. But the whole history of Australia period is
foul.
It's foul.
Oh my gosh, man.
You heard of what's it called? Saint George. The island is right off of the coast of Africa.
Okay.
And the history of that and how it ties into slavery.
Really?
How they were in Spain, they were in Spain, they got kicked out. They sent them to that island.
Well, you know what? But I probably said something like that. I'm gonna dig into that. I'm gonna dig into that. Because I didn't watch all of it.
When you look at the people on that island, it looks just like
that. Like so. Like when stuff started popping up with the Castile and all them, that's what made me like, bro, like, why is all of this happening to me? You know what I'm saying? And the father just began to open stuff up. And when I started watching Thoughts, Camera, Action, and I started seeing like, bro, we're the only people that's everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know,
there's even some island, I forgot where it's at, but no people have ever been there. Like still to this day, they don't let people come on the island. They'll kill you if you come on the island.
I heard about that. And look, there's some Europeans try to go.
Yeah, and they get
yeah.
You can drop off whatever,
right?
But you can't come on the island. Yeah, man. Ancient people. Those people are ancient, man.
I believe it. But I tell you, man, last about when I was talking about Alcabon, bro, how the map of Africa, bro, they sold us their dream.
Yeah. Well, even with the map alone, the sizes aren't what they supposed to be. They make America so big, and it makes the other countries so small.
Exactly.
And other countries are really 10 times bigger.
Yeah. Somebody, this female who's she's a sister, and she's in the truth. She said, because she moved over to Africa. She's in Ghana right now with her kids. She was like, you could drive 2.5 hours and still be in Ghana.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To your point of how they try to make it sound super small, like nah, chill out. Like, and I've seen certain memes and stuff where, like, I guess like with Africa, like you can put almost every other country inside of Africa. Like, that's how big it is.
You know, there was that, I forgot that white lady. She's real, like, really like
And do the two little package.
Nah, they put it in the
Okay.
yeah, that's how the brown sugar.
Yeah.
They had a real sugar.
Okay.
Not the white sugar.
Right.
Brown
Right.
sugar.
I said brown. I'm talking about like
Yeah.
brown.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is all fit.
Yeah.
I went back.
That's what's up. Mama. Everything coffee.
Hey, I did a little thing with the brown sugar. Said, let me get a latte with sugar.
Uh-huh.
Brown sugar.
Because that's what she do. She don't use that white sugar anymore. She use a brown sugar.
Yeah, I don't even
It'll be thick, real thick, kind of
Real
thick.
That might have to- What we get that over here though? I use stevia. I don't use the white sugar, but I use that stevia though.
You can get it at Joe. You can get it at Kroger's.
Yeah.
Sugar and simple truth. Yeah. That's simple truth.
Okay.
That's usually what I buy anyway.
Yeah.
Majority of my stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna have to pay attention because I go grab that stevia, which is sweet, you know what I mean? Because I don't want it dummy sweet, but just enough, you know what I mean? And I'll be out. But
Or just go to Jungle Gym.
Yeah, either one.
You know, Jungle Gym's got everything.
Everything.
I don't like nothing processed. I don't want it supposed to pure as I can be.
It makes a difference, bro.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I'm reading everything anyway. It's like,
Straight up. It's so crazy how that white sugar, everything, bro.
that white sugar and fructose corn syrup.
Oh, yeah.
And everything.
And it's so crazy. They try to play on the words like corn syrup. You read a couple ingredients down. High fructose corn syrup. Read a couple ingredients down. Glucose or fructose. You like, come on, bro. Right. Ooh. Like, bro, I need an EpiPen at the bottom of the. You know what I mean? I need an Epi.
But that's why you got to do that's why you got to make sure you just get the work out every time.
See, I love this time of year because I be in the fruit so heavy.
Yeah.
Watermelons
Yeah,
is great, mangoes. So I be in the
I don't know what happened. The program see the yellow watermelon. Oh,
yeah.
I don't
See
know.
the yellow.
Yeah, I don't know what yellow watermelon read.
You know what? I had one a couple years at an organic, like a farmer. So I think they are real. But to have progress there, you lucked up on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they was there for like a day. I believe it.
Was it like sweet? Probably sweeter than the red.
Oh,
yeah.
The red one, I ain't got a flavor for red one.
And the man,
Me neither.
It would take like water.
Hey,
Yellow one.
92%, bro. I'm on that eat your water now. Like I just probably keep eating watermelons like that. I got 3 in the crib, bro. I just juice them.
Which one?
The one called that one, and then the one in High Park, the biggest one. They have them on deck there too. And then I get my seeded grapes from Walmart. Yep. I get my seeded grapes from Walmart, bro. I keep 20 bags of grapes at the crib.
I usually buy the frozen packs up.
Oh,
And then I just smoothly
Just blend them up.
And then I got like this organic protein powder.
Yeah.
I eat that, man. I'll be good to go.
That's what's up.
Try to do the smoothie diet, but That's hard to do, man.
It's tough,
Man,
man.
it's tough.
I did it for a month.
Yeah.
I lost weight off that thing,
Yeah.
I lost weight.
I feel better.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
energy and all that.
Yeah, energy's much higher.
Yeah. Right. Straight up. Oh,
And
shit.
adding spinach and kale to it, yeah, that will make some difference.
No, I gotta stay away from it. You know, lost weight. I can't figure it out.
Which one? Spinach or kale? Kale? Okay.
Spinach cool.
Spinach cool, but kale something about it. Huh?
You talking about like as far as a smoothie or like a salad or whatever? Oh yeah, yeah. I feel it.
Make some chips. I eat them.
That's as far as you going, huh?
Yeah. I put that in the smoothie one time.
You gotta sweeten that thing up, right?
I used I had teal, I had pineapple, and there was 2 other things. And all I tasted was kale. I'm like,
Maybe the balance you had in there, bro. Maybe the 2 months, bro.
Throw some apples in that thing. Or apple or 2 in there.
Yeah, apple. I did one mix. I did apple, kale, what is it? Pineapple. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I might be playing the worst against the ball.
Hey, do what you need, bro.
I might do song sessions.